controversial indictments of a former president of the United States and the leading presidential candidate for 2024. That's a nice list, isn't that? A nice resume for a federal judge in D.C. Man, she's been on a warpath for a long time. Mueller, yeah, it's good. I'll help you with that one. That's good. Jack Smith, yeah, working on that one too, no problem at all. All the J6 proceedings, sure, go get them all. 3 for 3, man. She just rubber stamps everything. Has enough of it, then steps back once the work has been done.
Howdy, I.
Yeah. They tell us that on November 27th, Judge Howell and current Biden Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, who we've talked a lot about here as the person who's probably really pulling the strings at the DOJ, because Merrick Garland has a lot of fortitude to do much other than go out there and give speeches, says that the Biden Justice Department official, this is Lisa, ultimately supervises federal prosecutors in their cases. She is the deputy AG. She's the henchman for the Biden administration.
Day off, kind of, sort of. I had a little holiday party at the Detox Center where I do IT work.
Oh gosh. Congratulations, Lisa. Same to you, Judge.
An hour home drive.
Now, they were at the Women's White Collar Defense Association Gala, and I watched some of it. It's pretty, it's about what you expect. I'm not going to play those parts very much. The judge. But former Obama Attorney General was also there. Guess who was in the room? Loretta Lynch, Obama's number 2. Former Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch. The Master of Ceremonies and former Obama White House counsel Kathy Rumler was also there. Also introduced both Judge Howell and Monaco. Now, what's interesting about this is she did not include Rod Rosenstein. Right? I don't know if she knows that he was there or not. Yeah, but he was also there. Okay, so a bunch of people who we have questions about were there. So Lynch lauded Rumler's work on Obamacare and DACA, some of the most important policy issues of our time. Loretta Lynch, Obama's person. Rumler discussed how Judge Howell, Lynch, and former Mueller probe of Trump and Chief Deputy Andrew Weissman served together as federal prosecutors. Okay, I think Weissman was also in the as we're about to hear. Rumler then discussed how Judge Howell, a former Democrat chief counsel to then Senate Judiciary Committee Leahy, became President Obama's very first pick to serve the very influential D.C. court.
Hi, inDOCtriNATION. Hi, JC.
Rumler was speaking there. So Lynch lauded Rumler. And then Rumler came out and discussed Howell, Lynch, and Mueller. Now they have a quote. They say Rumler then discussed how she appeared before Judge Howell when she provided. So I think this is other background information. So this is not from the event. Oh yeah, it is actually. This is all from the event. So I did not watch the whole thing, but apparently this is the background from the event. It says this woman came out, Rumler, and says, but I can tell you from my experience that it was extremely rare for any member of the Senate to call the president directly on any judicial nominee. But Leahy called Obama about Beryl Howell, talking about her. He told President Obama how strongly he felt that she was the perfect person to be a federal judge. Leahy nudges Obama. And boy, was he right about that. What an incredible mark Judge Howell has made on the bench. I listed 3 things. Like, dang, she's been a wrecking ball for American justice. Said that she presided over. She's also made us all so very proud. Obama, very proud. Nice job, Judge. So then Rumler discussed how she appeared before Judge Howell when she presided over many quite sensitive grand jury proceedings. Rumler said she's a huge admirer of Judge Howell. Very fortunate to call her my friend, all from the event at those time codes. Now we're going to listen to skip news and log of that. Good Lord, it can't take so much of it. But we're going to just fast forward to Judge Howell speaking. Now, emphasizing that they have been very close friends for a long time, more than 20 years, Rumler then helped introduce Monaco. Says, she's quite a powerful person, no doubt about that. She holds a very powerful position called the Deputy AG of the United States. By the way, this is like, this is like a home run for a bunch of liberal DC lawyers in Washington.
You got a Moe's out there too?
Like, these are big people to come speak anywhere, okay? Okay, now if you're there speaking at your gala, your event, you kidding me? You get a DC Circuit Judge, and you get the Deputy AG, and the former Deputy, and the former AG? Holy moly. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's a nice lineup, man. You're like, dang, how did I get in this room? Like, there's some powerhouses here. And that's all. And the judge,
Oh, okay.
right?
It's burritos and stuff.
Rumler then called Monaco her best friend and shared details about their friendship. We've worked together. We go jogging. Love to text each other, and working on the first jury trial together, serving together on the Enron probe. Guess who led that one? Weissman, who's also in the room. They served together as top Obama DOJ officials, and they were all Obama White House. Oh, they did take a ski trip. Yeah, right. I believe. Praised and presented both Judge Howell and Monaco with their, quote, champion awards. Lynch specifically mentioned the, quote, the perfect storm and the trifecta of issues that Judge Howell handled masterfully. Said that the COVID pandemic closed the world, the January 6th insurrection, and the resulting caseload was like a joke. Okay, it's like a joke caseload. It's like 1,000 cases that they haven't been able to figure out in several years. Right. And the flurry of activity spurred by the Office of the Special Counsel all got pandemic. Now, colleagues and counsel alike speak almost reverently about how she steered the courthouse through the trifecta of issues with grace and with discipline, and her trademark bone-deep commitment to bring justice to every matter before her. Now, it's particularly shocking, it goes back to Lisa, I'm sorry, that's Monaco. We're talking now, this is Representative Stefanik. We were just exiting that quote, which was from Lynch introducing Howell and Monaco. So one AG, okay, so Obama's AG praised and presented Howell and Monaco. Thanks for inheriting. Lynch was Obama's.
Green, guys.
Obama actually appointed Lynch. And
Not
then
gonna stay green for long. Let's go.
And then Obama probably installed Biden, and he installed Monaco. So he's got total control of DOJ, going after all of his political opponents in America. Well done. So Ms. Stefanik says, you know, it's particularly shocking to hear the former AG of the United States literally praise a sitting judge for her handling of the grand jury proceedings.
Got my cock.
A pending criminal charge against Trump, her opponent. Now, the pending criminal cases.
I get to rival Chuck Bronson now. I got a cock.
Legal conclusion that there was an insurrection that occurred on J6, despite the fact that even deranged, over-the-top special counsel Jack Smith never even brought those charges against a January 6th defendant, not a single one of them. So why would Loretta Lynch, an AG, say a word, insurrection, that hasn't even been never been proven in a court of law, never been charged in a court of law? Remember that stupid phrase they said back during 2020? Now, it's even more shocking that Judge Howell participated in this highly prejudicial public charade, not even disclaiming any of it. Why? The judicial rules are pretty clear, saying a judge should neither lend the privilege of the judicial office to advance the private interest of the judge.
Hey, dirty. Yeah, nice cock.
And anti-MAGA person, anybody who's, I would imagine, not on her side. And others.
So they were laying around everywhere. All over. There was cocks everywhere at the detox center.
Now,
I'm like, I'm stealing one of these cocks.
Defendant who is coming across Judge Howell's courtroom, and they could possibly expect a fair trial. When one of the key federal judges received a champion award, the judge got a champion
Viking
award
Pug
from partisan opponents while their cases are literally pending before the court. It is a show trial travesty of justice. Okay, this is obviously unethical and reprehensible. She's supposed to be a neutral judge. We're going to listen to what she says in a minute. Now, Lynch, Rumler, and Monaco, the senior DOJ official prosecuting the January 6 cases, look at these people. They even huddled together with Judge Howell, who's overseeing the January 6 cases. The senior
Not sure
DOJ
what the point was, but I was like, I'm stealing one.
January 6 cases. And Judge Howell,
I think they're just giving them away to people.
And
Got a big box full of them.
Around each other on the stage. Look at these heroes of American democracy. Oh, yeah. Loretta Lynch, Judge Beryl Howell, and Lisa Monaco, saying they all stood there with applause, changed positions. The judge is like, hey, let me get over here. This is my good side. Judge Howell's like, oh gosh, I really hate my left. Do you mind if I come over here and let me just change sides? My right side's much better. This is what I use for my judicial portrait. And the other ladies were like, oh, fine, I guess we'll just sit here.
The dogs ate my piggy.
Like,
well, they chewed the squeaker out of it.
Right. So, repeated this. There's dramatic.
Yeah, I got one too, but the dogs killed it. The big one, like Midwest has.
And then they repeated this. Monaco got her done. So then Judge Howell began her prepared remarks, and she called Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch, the judge, and Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, who might be that woman, I'm not sure, called her the pantheon of our champion awardees and living heroes in the law. It's incredible.
You just set him right here.
That's amazing. She then
so he can see everything.
Biden Deputy Attorney General.
This is a stiff cock.
That it was an honor to share.
It's not flappy. It's a stiff cock. It's hard.
You're incredible. Having watched your careers over the years, I've been in awe at how you remain a model.
Yeah, the dog's killed it.
In grace while carrying the enormous responsibility for the safety of so many. Not just in your current job, but in your national security role. Gag me. Thank you for all your service to the country and for your being an unshakable force for justice. Now, let's listen to a little bit of this, because it's about
nice and firm.
All right, we're just going to pull it up. Now, I know, it's probably not, but
nobody wants a soft, flappy cock.
But this is what's happening at these locations with these individuals. And let's get this queued up to the appropriate location. And
firm
is at about an hour 44 when she starts her speaking. And so this is the introduction, just to share what it looks like. What a beautiful award, Loretta Lynch. What a scene.
Good luck. You gonna cry? You gonna be a little baby boy? It's too dark in here. I can't even show you, but they'll hear you if you cry. You can cry. Little squeaky cries.
That's Lisa Monaco. That is Judge Beryl Howell. That's Loretta Lynch, Attorney General. And they barely got the photo. He had to get the anyways.
Have a good one on Indoctrinated. Enjoy your mows.
They got it. He's like, just keep squeezing in. All right. So
I'll keep squeezing my cock.
Now the judge is going to listen to music. Turn up that mic.
And I'm very humbled to receive the Champion Award and to be included in this pantheon of other humanities like yourself, Sally Yates, here, all living heroes in the law. It's also an honor to share the stage tonight with Lisa Monaco, who's also receiving the Champion Award tonight. Congratulations.
Yeah, see you in court.
Having watched your career over the years,
see you in court.
I've been in awe of how you remain a model of calm and grace when carrying enormous responsibility for the safety of so many, not just in your current job,
for trespass cases.
Your prior national
nice job.
Thank you for all of your service to the country and for being an unshakable force for justice. So this event has always felt like a little bit like a homecoming, since so many of us have crossed professional paths and friendship paths with each other in the past. And so many dear friends from the Eastern District of New York here tonight, from Loretta, Karen, Kirby Keller, Jenny Avergan, Andrew Weissman. I too saved him for last.
Andrew Weissman, remember him? He's the weird dude on MSNBC, who every time something bad happens for Jack Smith, he says it's good. You know, and everything that's good for Trump, he says is bad. And he's one of those guys who just says kind of the same thing on repeat over and over again. But they're friends, man. They've been hanging out forever. At Eastern District of New York, it's just all pounding down together, right? This is what they do.
For the same reason. And Jody Abergen. I hope I haven't missed anybody. This event is a marvelous opportunity to reconnect with friends and also to meet tomorrow's leaders in the law. Looking at the room at this sold-out event, it really is a mark to appreciate all that the WWCDA has accomplished to expand diversity and opportunities for women in the white-collar field.
This stuff is pretty important. Now, I know I get mocky with this, but that's impressive, right? They've got a sold-out room. There are a lot of very, very powerful people in that room who control a lot of press, who control a lot of media, who have a ton of money, who can rally donos, right? There is a lot of influence. That's why they got these people showing up, a judge, multiple AGs, even Rod Rosenstein's there. So it is not insignificant, right? This stuff is important. And I wonder if the Republicans have anything even remotely close to this. Doesn't certainly seem like it to me.
Whether serving as prosecutors, defense attorneys, or investigations and compliance counsel, one thing all of us lawyers share is an appreciation of the importance of facts.
Okay.
And that's what I want to spend a few moments talking
Bars.
Yeah, their version of
All these
facts.
bar members.
Lincoln was a litigator before he was a politician, and he understood that facts matter. One story attributed to Lincoln is that when faced with a thorny issue that could have been settled fairly easily with a sophistic language twist, or just a slight abuse of power,
He
he
suspended
likened
habeas
this to
corpus?
asking, how many legs does a dog have if you call the tail a leg? And his answer was 4. Calling a tail a leg doesn't make it a leg.
Wow.
We are having a
Wow. Of all the Lincoln quotes, that's the one she got? Okay.
very surprising and downright troubling moment in this country when the very importance of facts is dismissed or ignored. That's very risky business.
What's
for
gonna
all
happen?
of us in our democracy.
What are you going to do? Imprison everyone?
The historian Heather Cox Richardson, whose book I've been reading, explains in her new book, which is a bestseller, so many of you may have already read it,
No,
Democracy Awakening,
Democracy
that
Awakening.
burying facts with false history telling is one of the keys to the rise of authoritarianism. As she bluntly puts it, big lies are springboards for authoritarians.
Huh.
She cautions in her book's opening line, it's the very first line,
What is it?
America is at a crossroads,
Uh-huh. How come?
teetering on the brink of authoritarianism.
Why?
And she echoes this thought in her closing line, that we are at a time of testing, and how it comes out resting, as it always has, is in our own hands. In between those 2 points, in the first line and the last, her book focuses on historical facts to set the record straight
Facts from this author.
about recreated and imagined conspiratorial retellings of our country's history,
We're almost done.
recent and long ago. My DC judicial colleagues and I regularly see the impact of big
The
lies
side.
Oh,
and the sentencing of hundreds of individuals who have been convicted for offense conduct on January 6, 2021,
there it is.
where they
They're
disrupted
in your courtroom, Judge. You're calling them liars before you've even heard their cases? They're still pending cases. So you've seen the consequences of big lies in cases that are not even for you, and you're just bundling them all up. It sounds like you kind of prejudge some of these things, Judge.
certification of 2020 presidential U.S. Capitol. As district court judges, we are all about the facts
Oh,
and enforcing the procedural and evidentiary rules to make sure authentic, reliable, and tested facts are brought forward to resolve a case with serious consequences for non-compliance, for
Ooh.
not telling the truth.
yeah, and they imprison people who were not even there on January 6th. Did they talk about that fact? How about the fact that the Proud Boys defense attorneys identified from the defense in the Proud Boys trial alone 50 undercover government informants or related CHSs who were there on January 6th from their own expert witnesses? And why wasn't any of that admitted in trial, Judge, out of the DC Circuit Court? Huh, that's curious. Now, that was another court judge, but it's the DC Circuit. So if you're so interested in facts, how come all of the evidence from Homeland Security investigations was not allowed in any of the January 6th trials? Or the ones that we've covered here, at least. They just said, oh, not part of our investigation. You can only talk about the FBI. All the DC judges who supposedly care about the facts left that out. And we could go on and on here, but these people delude themselves, okay? They just come out here. How many times has she said facts? If you were drinking at home when she said that word, you're dead right now. Because they just say it over and over and over again. Like what they're doing with Joe Biden now. There's no evidence, there's no evidence. There's tons of evidence. Hunter has evidence himself. He said, I'm sitting here next to Daddy. So we've got all sorts of evidence that we'd love to talk about. In fact, there's evidence that's missing, and we still don't hear about it. Almost done. Here she is.
That is what a fair process is all about, and what generally makes for a just outcome. To be sure, stories can be told with different facts emphasized or highlighted or contextualized. That is entirely proper advocacy, and good lawyers are adept at using facts to tell a client's story.
Not when you don't let the evidence in, Judge.
Still, the facts matter. The courts are often looked to as democracy's guardian, but the foundation for that guardianship, to the extent it works, is fair fact-finding, with past events recounted based on accurate facts. So as we get to the end of this wonderful evening, let us take a moment
Finally, gosh.
just to appreciate how lucky we all are to work in a profession where facts are crucial to what we do for a living.
You see how amazing these judges are and these lawyers are in Washington, D.C.? Facts are important to them. You know, other people in America who have other jobs, all made up garbage, okay? Dummies. Like electricians and plumbers, you know, and drivers and people out there who are doing other things in America, people who are parenting their children, people who are working in volunteer organizations. They're all just kind of deluded maniacs living in this almost high state, like they're on acid, visualizing.
Sky looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
Like that Jill Biden video, almost. And the lawyers in D.C., they can get to the bottom of it thanks to the judge and Attorney General Lisa Monaco. So
Get to see any more shooting stars last night?
This is on YouTube, and let's get some views over here. And that's the judge, okay? That's what it looks like in Washington, D.C. So Representative Elise Stefanik is sending the complaint over to the Judicial Committee of the Court of Appeals. And we'll see what happens here, if they care at all. If there's any recourse for a judge commenting on cases that are in front of her involving issues that are actively pending. It's Washington, D.C., so don't hold your breath. But we'll be here, my friends, continuing to cover. Thank you for subscribing to our channel.
It was supposed to be, well, the first night that you watched it last night.
To grab some,
I mean, it's supposed to be for days, but those are supposed to be the two best days.
Learn more.
Night before last and last night.
Symbol. You can check it out at Robert.
I remember just when I laid down at like 2 o'clock. I was like, nah, I ain't getting back up.
The shield, the scales of justice, and more. And
hopefully none of them land on the house.
Back here on the next one.
Good nights for it too, though. It's just a tiny moon, so
jump over
sliver of a moon. Good luck, your laptop.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna try to keep it together on this one. This one, man, we were on our after party yesterday at watchingthewatchers.locals.com when this just came across the timeline, and it's just outstanding. So let's get right to it. Fanny Fannie Willis, her plea deals, which were supposed to be justice served because people like Sidney Powell took guilty pleas, which we know were ultimately just diversion deals, which will ultimately be dismissed anyways. But they told us that Fannie secured victories. Why? Because she got apology letters. And those apology letters were going to be used in trial against Trump. Remember, they said they're going to come in and testify, and they're going to explain that Trump is guilty, and their apology letters are going to be robust, and Fannie got everything that she wanted out of them. Remember that? We were mocking that because we said, why didn't she give them diversion deals then? Okay, they actually are not going to be convicted of anything. Yes, they took a guilty plea proceeding, but the judge held that in abeyance pending probation, at which point all of it's going to be dismissed in about 3 years. So she got nothing out of this. They said that these apology letters were going to be a home run, but guess not. What? Not. Here is what they look like. It is a one-sentence apology letter. That one's from Sidney Powell. Now we're going to compare and contrast that to Jenna Ellis, who kind of made a big show about this when she stood up and read her letter, but didn't have to do that. The others, in their cases, certainly didn't. So we're going to go through the story. Fannie's going to explain the strength of her case on a podcast, and she's like, well, I'd rather not talk about it. It's like any other case. And I understand why she doesn't want to talk about it, because they don't have anything. And we'll look at some reaction from people like Bill Kristol, that woman, and then Psaki, who's paranoid that they're going to turn off the internet.
Brand spanking new.
So this is the back end of what we did not see when the plea deals were being executed. This was the apology letter from Kenneth Chesebro, a man who took a guilty plea proceeding, who took a diversion deal in Georgia, which means his case is going to be dismissed. And they go through the proceeding in case he doesn't complete probation or he gets in trouble again. If he does get in trouble again, they're going to bring back the guilty plea and enter the charge against him and convict him. But that's not going to happen. He's going to be fine. It's all going to be dismissed, and there will not even be a record of the charge. So what happened in this case is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution submitted a records request. And we can see why Fannie didn't want to release these things. Because they're one sentence, two of them. Kenneth Chesebro, October 20th, when he's taking his plea, this is what he said. And the left was so excited about this. He apologized. Here's his apology. I apologize to the citizens of the state of Georgia and of Fulton County for my involvement in
They're supposed to have lots of cool heavy metals in them, though.
Kenneth Chesebro.
Meteors.
I felt it, man. I really felt it. I'm moved. I can feel the sincerity in this. It really landed with me. And I can't wait until Fannie takes this in front of the jurors for Trump. And she said, they're all upset about this. Does Count 15 even involve Trump? I would guess not. So that's his apology letter, all right? Nothing in there. Now, that is pretty good. Now, let's count the words on this one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We'll count 15 as a word. So this is 22 words. Now, I haven't done the math on this. Now, let's see if Sidney Powell can beat that, right? Let's see if she can do better. Let's see. So this is Sidney Powell's. Oh, I think she has a beat. I think she has a beat. What do you think? 22 words for Kenneth Chesebro. All right, let's see what Sidney did. So this is Sidney Powell, October 19. She says, Sidney Powell, very sincere. Okay, get out the Kleenex. I apologize for my actions in connection with the events in Coffee County. I don't know how many that is. I don't know. I think she definitely, it felt like a win to me. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wow, man. 13. Is it 13? I think it's 13 words. Oh my gosh, I can count that again. I got too excited. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 words. Oh my gosh. It's incredible. So Sidney Powell, man, she's a good lawyer, as we saw. Man, she's really good at this stuff, as we saw. pretty amazing. Now, I got to tell you, that's pretty good. Now, I don't know what I would say. You know what I would see? I got a couple options, okay? I would see if I could get away with like this, like, I'm sorry. And then I'd see like if Fanny would take that and just leave it at that. I'm sorry. And then if she would take that, I'd say, you know what? Let's just try this one. Let's just try this. Let's just see if she'll take this. Just put that on a sticky note and send that over there. I would try that one. Sorry. And just see if she'll take it. I don't know. That's getting pretty bravado there. I gotta say, Sidney Powell's pretty safe. It's fair. 13 words. It's a nice victory for her. It's just, they said that they were going to take all the shit. They're going to take this in front of the judge, right? In front of the jurors, and the jurors are going to see all this. And so that's Sidney Powell, one of the main architects. Now, to be fair to Fanny, this one's a little bit longer. I'm not going to count this one, but this was Scott Hall. Now, Scott Hall, I think, was the first one through the game. Okay, Scott Hall was the first one who took a plea deal, and everybody else was like, okay, we didn't issue an apology letter. Okay, so he's the first one, so I don't think he really knew that you could write a one sentence. Like, I don't think he knew that option, and he didn't date this, but yeah, I owe you an apology. I wish, let's see if he implicates Trump, okay, because they said he's going to, this is going to be used to implicate Trump. That's why Fanny's so brilliant. She's so smart. You're so dumb, girl. To the citizens of Georgia, I owe you an apology. Wish I'd never involved myself in post-election activities that brought me to this court. I've never been in trouble with the law. I meant no harm to anyone. So not really, that's not really kind of apology. Now, I did what I did on my own. There you go. So Trump is not involved at all. I was not acting on behalf of any organization or any other person or persons. Wow. So are you saying that what you're saying is there's no conspiracy? There's no conspiracy. Wow. So your apology letter, because you didn't plead guilty to conspiracy. In fact, you didn't plead guilty plea proceeding there, Scott. A guilty plea proceeding, which is going to be held in abeyance when your case gets dismissed, which will be later down the line. And in your apology letter, you exonerate Donald Trump. So thanks for that, because there is no RICO case. There is no conspiracy. I did what I did on my own. So thank you for that. Now you can see why Fanny does not want any of this coming out. So it's actually the opposite of what all the lefties were claiming. Okay? They were saying, she got everything she wanted. He's actually exonerating them. Now, I became involved when I observed what I thought were some irregularities, which I reported to law enforcement. I was concerned. I went to the State Farm Arena on election night to the subsequent recount as an observer and was ultimately invited to Coffee County. Although I certainly did not mean to violate any laws, I now realize that I did and have accepted responsibility for my actions. I offer my sincere apology to the citizens of the state of Georgia. Incredible! Incredible. So the first two letters are like, get bent, here's your stinking apology, losers. And then this is like a total slam dunk for Trump. It actually supports Trump and blasts the rest of the RICO case. Like, there is no RICO case. I did what I did on my own. This is ridiculous. I was invited there, didn't even intend to violate.
Yeah, he was surely. I watched for a bit of the drive out there. Yeah, he was. He's definitely on one.
Sorry, George. Like, that's true, by the way. I don't think any of these guys wanted to violate law, and if they did,
I kind of feel bad for Riverside, man. He got himself involved in some stuff that.
I didn't realize that I was going to be attacked and weaponized for doing what everyone else is doing.
I think he just felt accepted by that group of guys. I mean, I don't think he actually broke any laws, though, other than his case where he maced the guy that was already on the ground.
I actually think this is also a great strategy. So rather than even writing just a one-worder, so if we're going from a 22-word to a 13-word, maybe to a 2 or 3-word plus a contraction. That's really a 3-word. I got sneaky with that one. That's a contraction. So it's really like a 3-word well down to a 2. See if Fanny would accept that. But my point is, this is also brilliant, right? You could also just write like 10 pages of this. Hey, Fanny, here's why you're a loser. I'm sorry you're a loser. How's that? You take that for an apology? I'm sorry you're a partisan prosecutor who's wrecking America. That's what I'm sorry for. Signed, Scott Hall. That'd be pretty good. All right, so a lot of options here. Really, you can do whatever you want in Fanny's courtroom. She's got no case, so nobody cares. So she's just like, yeah, I'll take it. Now, for some reason, Jenna Ellis didn't go. that there's a better way to do this. And so she, if you recall, we were covering this here, she did this. This was her approach. And I'm not sure why, because all the other three had a little bit different turnout, a little bit of a different outcome. But here was Jenna.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to address the court. As an attorney who is also a Christian, I take my responsibilities as a lawyer very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way. I endeavored to represent my client to the best of my ability. I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information, especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. What I did not do and done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado Bar has censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. Thank you.
All right, so a little bit of emotional layer that she added on there, and okay, but the letter doesn't say anything. It doesn't indicate that there's anything wrong, that Trump did wrong. It's a pretty vanilla letter, and she just is blaming bad information that came to her. Okay, it still doesn't implicate anybody. It's a bit more theatrical. The others, like the City Palace approach was good. I'm sorry for your inconvenience. Bye. Have a nice day, Fanny. So that's Jenna, right? That's the three. That's what we've got. We've got all three of those knocked out. And so Fanny is not doing so hot in this case. Now, she did show up on a podcast. Now, this podcast was breaking down the Trump indictment. And they brought Fanny on. And let's see what this sounds like from this podcast.
Confidence in the evidence. You edited this conversation for length and clarity, but we've also given her.
I guess the sticky notes work.
Yeah, I noticed a new
These
clip
are about 4 months old.
that came from his account today.
I want to know how it's going. So
Or, I mean, maybe I just got a notification for it, but it came today. I mean, he's sitting in jail, right?
Interference case. That's the case. Asked me about before.
Did you already have that clip scheduled?
how do you feel about the strength of your case at this point?
Bring indictments when the evidence was bringing, so I'm at the same place I was on the day we indicted. And I think you know probably more so than maybe national viewers that when I took office, I changed the philosophy of the way we charge cases in this office. And so it's very important to me that any case, whether it's a theft by shoplifting or possession of drugs,
You don't prosecute shoplifting in Georgia.
that we get all of the evidence together, and once we are satisfied with we have enough evidence, we bring charges. And so that is followed on every single case in this office. I thought it was an unethical practice to charge people.
I just feel he got caught up in some stuff that, I mean, he should have been more aware of his people he was dealing with. But of course, the piggies are turning it into something that is not, with him anyway. But they got him on the fucking top row like he's a kingpin involved in that shit. They basically got transparency off the road for a while.
Started out with 19 defendants.
So I guarantee you, when some people get out there and record, they'll be like, "Oh, you want to be like that dude Riverside? You want to go to jail too?"
Here, Willis is talking about the Atlanta Public Schools test cheating case.
Okay, so you heard that. That's a little intro. Now we're going to fast forward to this next segment because they get back to the Trump stuff. I feel like, okay, so we're talking about this, so they fast forward through this.
That I'm
have
There's a cop up ahead.
I guess personally, I just remember being very tired. And every America nor reporter, you all really do not believe fundamentally, because if you did, it wouldn't be so interesting, that everyone is the same. So the process is always the same. And so why is that news that it's, and clearly it is, it's not a criticism of you because people comment on it, but it shouldn't be news that any defendant has to go through the process. So it wasn't anything special to me. I've seen a lot of bookend photos in my day. It's another bookend photo from somebody charged with a crime.
So as you can see, Willis was pretty brief in her answers and repeated again and again that the Trump case is just like any other case.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, no, that other case, that Mason case, I think he's going to go down for. But yeah, this
So they brought her on. They're like,
Rico bullshit.
Most interesting thing ever. She's like, what are you talking about?
It's bullshit.
Don't ask me about anything. Even they have to know, like, oh, this kind of
Jesus
stuff.
Christ. All right, I guess I'll move over. I'm like fucking doing it the fucking last minute, eh? Dumbass. Des Moines, Iowa.
We have a lot of people that are mentally ill in the world. It's clear to me that people are offended when everyone is treated equally. And so, as a result, I have a lot of ignorant, probably mentally ill people that lodge threats at me and my family. That's obviously no one wants to have themselves threatened or their families threatened. So I take proper precautions, none of which I'll discuss because I wouldn't want my safety or my family's safety to be jeopardized by discussing them. It is a shame, though, that we are at a time in American history where if someone doesn't like a decision, that they think that it's appropriate to call them racist names, which I've definitely been called.
Fanny? Your name is Fanny. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, everything from slave whore to the N-word more times than I can count. There's usually ugly racial identifications, like you're going to be hung, or you'll be raped and hung.
No, see, stuff like that is criminal, by the way. So she's a prosecutor. She knows this. She knows better than this. You're not allowed to make those types of threats to government officials. You're not allowed to make those threats to anybody. It's called harassment. It's called threatening. Okay, it's criminalized. Various permutations all around the country. So it's already illegal to do that. They're already investigating and arresting people who are doing all those things. But they're trying to say that type of stuff, it happens all the time, okay? Like, this is a big country. There's a law of big numbers. If you have 100 million people, let's say a third of the country who hear about something.
Well, this GV doesn't have any balls. Sorry.
Do something that's not really great. Whether it's a phone call or a text message or something. Right? It's just a big country. It's just a law of numbers, just probabilities essentially. But they take these little incidents and they say, everybody's attacking me, and they're attacking my case, and I'm a victim. And so rather than defending the case, they just layer over it, they blanket over it with all of their personal.
Yeah, the Shanduli.
So here's the thing.
Things to bring terror, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. They're wasting their time.
And then we had a few exchanges like this one.
Hey, wow.
Agreement so forth.
A lot of wins.
So, I'll let you ask your full question because, I don't want to be rude to you, but, I'm not going to comment on any open case in terms of plea agreements or
They're close, Fanny. They're done.
defendants from standing. I'll let you ask your question and then I'll say that.
There's something like
I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Our studio for here, Willis.
Little confidential informant
How
there.
important was it to get those plea agreements? And
Letting them
how
know
important
when he's live.
was that to your case going forward?
This guy's on his heels. He's like, holy crap, what's your problem, man? I'm like, really? You want to answer questions?
I won't discuss any open case. I can just talk about process, and I think you.
Oh wow, that's crazy. House fire.
You, I know, as someone who is an actual experienced journalist and experienced with the courtroom and the way criminal cases proceed. Again, not a unique fact. In APS, we started with 35 defendants. 2 of those unfortunately passed, meaning they died. Left 30 defendants remaining. 21 took pleas. We used each of those pleas to tell further the accounts of what happened in that incident. Plea agreements in the criminal practice, you often give them because someone
that
has to
kind of
take
sucks right before the
responsibility for what
holidays.
they did. That's why you'll give someone a lesser sentence because it's an important part is just to have attrition and say, I apologize, I shouldn't have been involved in this conduct. And it often helps you in making sure that you're able to prove your case, although you should do that at the time of indictment, whether you have a plea or not.
Do you think it'll take having a trial to help the calendar before you get someone to be able to
So Fulton County, I've learned, I've practiced almost my entire career here, is unique from other circuits in that that's not the way our process kind of works. So you bring an indictment. Typically, there's a plea and arraignment where people their you're not guilty for the charges. That's a court date. They call it a plea arraignment court date. Motions are filed in big cases. Lots and lots and lots of motions are filed by many different defendants. And so you have motions hearings. The reason I mention that is often, and before you can have motions, you have to file the discovery, which is all the information you have on the case. So people know what motions they want to file, what evidence they want to challenge. What has been my practice, what I have seen in my practice for these 28 years that I've been practicing.
8357, you too.
Is
Yeah, you be safe, brother.
It is after motions where you'll get the most amount of pleas. And so what happens after motions in Fulton County, Georgia, and that's all I can speak to, is we have what we call a final plea date. Most judges in Fulton County will use final plea date for your last opportunity for a negotiated plea. There's a great significance to a negotiated plea, and that is because if we agree to what the sentence is going to be, and you as the defendant, the judge can always say, I'm not going to accept that negotiated plea. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think that's justice. And so a judge can reject it. If a judge rejects it, anytime up to and including final plea, the defendant can say, well, since you didn't accept the plea that I negotiated, then I'm going to go ahead to trial. One is able to take a plea after final plea, but they have to take what's called a non-negotiated plea, which means the judge sentences. And the second important part about that is you do not have the right to withdraw your plea, so you're stuck with it. So whatever the judge gave you, that's what you're going to do. If that's 20 years in jail, then you're going to do 20 years in jail because you're past the date of final plea. And so I never really expect pleas in a lot of an amount. We certainly had them at APS too, but you're always just in practicing law going to see more pleas after motions. And it makes sense because now I know what's coming in against me and what's not coming in against me. Now lawyers are in a position where they can really tell their client, okay, you might want to take a plea.
There's a couple of those phrases like that, dirty.
People to understand.
In the ghetto.
So
I used to always hear Elvis's voice. Now it's Carbon.
All right, this is interesting. I don't necessarily agree with her. I mean, so sometimes what happens, at least here in Arizona, is you have a trial tax. Okay, the farther you take the case, the further you push the issues. Like if you file a motion to suppress, they'll actually make your plea deal get worse. Okay, so you are incentivized to plea out early rather than later. So oftentimes, I don't think if her office doesn't do this, shout out to her. By the way, like I prefer that. Like we should get all of the evidence, and we should get all of the discovery. But in many situations, the prosecutor will actually penalize you. It's like, do you think, for example, that the Proud Boys would have gotten the same penalty if they had taken a plea? Of course not. Do you think that they would have gotten the same sentence if they had taken a plea? Of course not. They would have gotten a fraction of the time. So is that justice then? Like they went to trial and challenged the charges. So is it justice that they go to jail longer than what would have been acceptable for them under a plea? Like should it be like triple, quadruple what the penalty was, the original charge? They were willing to these guys in prison for 5 years. Why is 25 years appropriate now all of a sudden? Because there's more charges there and they went to trial, so the penalty just suddenly needs to be much worse. It's a trial tax. And so I think that probably happens.
Respect my authority.
And even if it's not a policy, as it was here in Arizona for a very long time, then maybe they just do it, impliedly, right? Which I think that they do, because you're making the prosecutor work. Like you're making them respond to a motion to suppress, or making them set up and schedule interviews with you. Like, oh gosh, all right, my plea is revoked. Take the plea or not.
And lawyers will wait for their to take a plea until they know, is the judge going to say this search was legal or this search was illegal? It's illegal, all the drugs are out, prosecution is in a position where we are going to probably dismiss the case because we can't use the evidence against you. Or the judge is going to say, yeah, them 3 kilos, they're going to come in and the search was good. And then they're going to say, hey, what's the best deal that we can get? So we are kind of in the normal place of the process. And so I'm not at all surprised about where we are or how many pleas have been taken in that case. I think we're following the normal course.
We saw you for the first time in court in the revocation hearing for Harrison Floyd. And I guess I'm just wondering if we're going to see you in court more often in this.
Ask her why she lost.
So just to correct the record, when we were in a pre-indictment stage in this case, I did appear in court,
right,
but
yeah.
You're speaking post-indictment.
Thanks, Mandy.
I told somebody recently, and I think it's true, and you'll probably appreciate this more than other reporters, I don't think anyone should ever be surprised if DA Willis enters a courtroom. That's like not something that's a surprise
I agree.
That's not a straight
It's like
answer,
she
I
showed
guess, but I don't think anyone should be surprised if I walk into the court to defend any case
So are
that
you
I
gonna
have
come back?
here.
Your name's on the indictment.
My name's on every indictment, and so ultimately, my assistant district attorneys are carrying out my duties and responsibilities.
Do you think it's possible you might make an appearance at trial whenever the trial comes?
I think it's very possible.
Yeah, you better,
That hearing
Fanny.
with Harrison Floyd, it seemed, involving threats against witnesses. It seemed almost personal for you. Do you feel
Yeah, you
a
were fired
heightened
up.
level of responsibility when it comes to the safety of some of these witnesses?
And are you mad that you lost?
Oh, I feel a heightened sense of security when it comes to my witnesses in all cases. I would not say it's personal, but it is at the front of my mind in
It felt
terms of
personal?
business. This is not the only case by any stretch of the imagination where we very much worry about threats. That kind of goes back to our first part of our conversation. We are living in a time in America where there is a lack of respect for authority and there's a lack of respect for the process. That hit home the largest for me.
You better believe it.
Fuck the
There is-
trolls.
Yeah, your authority. You guys have made a joke of the justice system. That's your own doing. Why did you try to indict and prosecute your partisan opponents? I mean, that's obviously insane. So, yes, you've made a joke of the system yourself, and we're going to call you out for it. And we'll see how much authority you think you have and how this whole thing goes, because it is slowly unraveling before us. You have one sentence apologies.
Earlier in maybe last year now, someone threatened our sheriff. And that seemed crazy to me
That's a
because your
crime.
sheriff in any county is your most important law enforcement officer, right? You're your chief number one law enforcement officer. But to me, the reason I bring that up is it just shows what a horrible place we are at when people think it is okay to threaten law enforcement officers who risk their life to protect you. And so, yes, I take it very, very seriously when people get doxxed, which this week in a trial, not the one you're referring to right now, I've had law enforcement officers doxxed.
Okay, so not the Trump one? Great. What are you guys doing about that? You melting down about that one? You're going to gag everybody in those cases?
Personally, as you know, have been doxxed, which for your listeners and viewers who don't know what that means, it means where someone will share your personal information, meaning your home address or your business or your telephone number, so that people can intentionally harass you. And that's been done in cases that this office is bringing, in cases the Attorney General is currently bringing, against different law enforcement officers here, against city council people in my city about another case. So yes, I think you can hear the passion in my voice when people threaten people that are just coming forward, being good citizens, doing their duties. It is a very important thing to me, and it's something we are not going to tolerate.
Of threats, perceived threats against witnesses in this case. We had one of the defendants, Trevian Cootie, go on Instagram Live recently and talk about Ruby Freeman, one of the witnesses in this case. There were some legal folks I spoke to who said that it was grounds for you to seek a revocation of Ms. Cootie's bond agreement. Do you plan to do that in the future, and why haven't we seen action on the DA's part yet?
Because she lost the
Because the
last
DA
one.
is patient.
You're on.
Because she lost the last one, okay? She tried to revoke
Yeah, I know. How dare they?
Floyd's bond and failed massively. Because the first thing you got to do is have a protective order that is actually specific so that Floyd has notice. Now, did she have the same protective order issued against her? She says she's patient. All right.
Office has requested an August 5th trial date for next year. We have the special counsel in the DC case going to the Supreme Court right now asking for expedited review. It's possible that case could be delayed. It's possible. It's possible the New York case could be delayed for some reason and the classified documents. If there is an opening before August the 5th, do you think you would be ready and willing to step forward here?
Oh, we would be ready and willing. I always say, stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So the state would be ready and willing, but we have to go through that natural process that we've talked about of hearing all of the defense motions, hearing all of the state's motions, having final plea. But the date that we asked for was respectful of our sister jurisdictions. And so we considered that those dates were already set. And so I wasn't going to go in and ask for the same date that was set in another jurisdiction. But, I am aware that there are things going on elsewhere in the world that could delay this, but certainly, as you said, there might be openings, and it would just depend on where we were in the process, meaning have we gone through all of those other necessary steps. We have a new judge in this case, and I think he's been criticized new judge. But what I watch him do, not in this case, just in all cases, is he seems to be managing his calendar very, very efficiently.
Yeah, he seems
Having dates, holding people accountable, jumping in and trying cases. And so I think that's lucky. Not every judge is that efficient. And so I think it's lucky for all the parties involved that you have a judge that moves their calendar along efficiently. And I'm sure if he sees an opening and he's made sure that everyone's rights are protected and we've done all the motions, that it's something he may set down. But obviously,
I'm not sure if that's true or not. August dates in the middle of an election season. Give me a break. Okay. So that's Fanny. Now, I'm sure she continues to talk on, but we can only tolerate so much. So she has an interesting take on some of these issues, really doesn't want to comment on it. It is the standard sequence of criminal prosecutions. As far as she can tell, they're still pushing for an August trial date. She doesn't have much comments on the prior plea deals. We think that they were jokes and have any actual convictions, and this is what the actual apology looks like, a one-sentencer, and then a defense of actions by Mr. Scott Hall. And so we've got some questions now about these other cases. Fanny got asked about SCOTUS and Jack Smith and moving those trial dates around. We know that Jack Smith is appealing directly to the Supreme Court to see whether they will find that Trump has, or Jack Smith's opinion does not have, presidential immunity, or claims that the cases should be dismissed based on double jeopardy and other things. This is Bill Kristol saying that, SCOTUS isn't going to save us. We're so petrified against Donald Trump that we've been relying on somebody to take him out. Jack Smith's filed 2, Fanny's got 1, Bragg's got 1. Ms. Bergdorf Carroll is civilly suing him. Tishy's taken away his business attemptedly. And Kristol is getting a little bit nervous about this. Here's what he sounds like.
So I think the courts likely reject Trump's immunity claims, and if they take them, he's kind of off the hook for at least federal criminal indictments and charges. But this trial will be delayed. I was talking to lawyers yesterday, by a month or two, the actual trial going ahead, even if the Supreme Court ultimately rejects Trump's claims, just because the judges paused the depositions and discovery in the trial, as they think has to while this thing is on appeal. So I think the notion that we're going to have a trial meeting March 4th looks less likely. Maybe April, maybe May. I don't know. And the trial, even at that point, as Trump said, hey, we're in the middle of the presidential campaign. I'm the nominee, basically.
Yeah.
We'll be the nominee for both parties.
You can have a trial?
We can't have a 2-month trial here. It's not fair. And let's just put it off till after the election. So I am much more, I'm anti-Trump, just to put all my cards on the table there.
You know that.
I'm always more skeptical than some different court system would save us, so to speak, from Trump. And those voters who say they don't.
Oh no, there might be justice.
Decency or would see
Your fucking baseless fucking
changes in the course of the next few months.
indictments and accusations. The court might not support us.
Actually, people have a trial and adequately be convicted.
Oh, so they are starting to recognize the truth on these things. And did you like how he said that the judicial system is not going to save them from Trump? It's like, what are you talking about? What kind of country are you living in? That the judicial system should have any say in who governs the country, right? They are neutral judges. But they are using, right, the courts as political tools. And Bill Kristol's in on it. I thought he was a Republican like a long time ago or something like that. Weird how the tides change. So that's Kristol. This woman was over on MSNBC, and she is very happy.
He is, but he's another Trump.
I think that what Jack Smith is pretty brilliant. Says you can read more about it on their website, but here is MSNBC's analysis on how this works.
Because I think Jack Smith's filing actually was pretty brilliant. His strategy has been really brilliant to try to cut Donald Trump off from this delay strategy. This is what Public Notice wrote about it. Trump's lawyers insist that the Constitution's take care clause make Trump an all-purpose policeman obliged to interfere with the certification of President Biden's electoral victory. This is a particularly odd position because the 12th Amendment to the Constitution lays out specific roles for Congress and the vice president in the electoral certification, but not for the president. So talk about this just for a moment, because it is slightly unusual for the Supreme Court to skip the DC circuit and just jump before them. But it's not completely unusual, right? And is this a solid argument on the part of Trump's lawyers that somehow interfering with the election is part of his job?
Right, so we're pivoting from the Fisher case, which is about the January 6 charges, and now turning to Trump's efforts to delay this trial altogether by arguing that he is immune from prosecution as a former president. What Jack Smith has done here is basically said, we can't wait for the Intermediate Appellate Court to make a ruling here. That would take too long. This country needs to know whether one of its candidates...
So this woman's name is Melissa Murray, and she is... Wow, she wrote a book called The Trump Indictments, the historic charging documents with commentary. She wrote a book with Andrew Weissman with commentary. They wrote a whole book about the indictment. Oh man, I'm sure the MSNBC viewers are just reading it. Probably it's, like on their tables, when they say their prayers before dinner or whatever. So the Trump indictments, the historic charges documents with comment for Melissa and Andrew.
What? President is a convicted felon or not, and so it sought certiorari without judgment, before judgment in this case, and it's asked the Supreme Court to not only do that, to take this case, but to do so with incredible expedition. And the question that the court has to address is whether the scope of presidential immunity, which has never been applied in the context of a criminal case, because we have never had a former president or a sitting president be indicted on criminal
Who buys that book?
Whether or not
Seriously, who buys that book? I mean, the whole indictment is public record. You can read it if you want to. Why would you buy a book to hear somebody's biased opinion on it?
As president, and therefore within the scope, within that outer perimeter of his duties, and therefore renders him immune. Jack Smith is arguing that he wasn't even supposed to be there. That is a job for the vice president.
Right.
This is not part of the president's official duties. He has no...
Yeah.
So if she's right about that, I mean, there's good analysis there. I think that her analysis is accurate. It's funny that grifting off the and it's incredible. But anyways, so I think that she's right. Jack Smith is trying to leapfrog. He is trying to go very quickly. They got a little caught flat. I thought that Chutkin was going to be able to anchor that March 4 trial date in there, and then boom, that Coinbase case came out 2023. They hit this thing on immunity double jeopardy. They took the case away from her, so that Jack Smith freaked out, hit Judge Chutkin with a motion, hit the Court of Appeals with a motion, and hit the Supreme Court with a motion, all within like 48 hours. Or within the same day, I think. Oh crap, we don't have this case anymore. We're in big trouble. So Jack Smith, brilliant little scholar at all, saying that this is their strategy. It's brilliant, whatever. I think we'll see what SCOTUS does about it, but that is their analysis. Now,
I may be on later. Thank you for riding with me.
Miles Taylor, he is a national security official.
Zip it, dirty.
And he's host of some TV show.
Love you.
Now, if elected,
See you guys later.
May turn off the internet. Be a